Back in the day, he'd go out in the way deep into the woods on his property, man, even way off his property that connects down to the little Tallapoosa River. He found an old abandoned moonshining spot with all the blown up joints where the government had come through and blown up the stills. And they found a rusted pistol out there and a human arm bone. Haunted, man. He used to sleep out there right next to the haunted stills, and I myself took his advice and I went out there and I slept next to the haunted stills, man. And I heard the voices of the old moonshiners, dog. I heard them, man, like in my like between wake and sleep. I heard them like speaking to me, man. He claims that they spoke to him too. They told him all kinds of psychedelic things. He built a spiritual shrine right around the corner called the Holy Goddess Garden, or also known as Goddess Island. It's a spiritual place, man, where you go to worship, man. And Xtra Cornbread Steve is no fool, boy. He will worship, man. He will spread that peace. He will spread that love and that thanks and holy motherfucking vibes to the stars, boy, and to way beyond those motherfuckers. But anyways, man, Xtra Cornbread Steve, he was saved one day way back in the early 90s by a psychedelic group of girls called the Indigo Girls. So my man Xtra Cornbread Steve, way back in the day, I'm talking late 80s, early 90s, he lived in a tree in this part of Atlanta called Little Five Points. He lived in this big old tree, man. Sitting up top, laying down bottom, whatever, man. He fight for that tree, dog. He had to fend off lots of gangsters and hoodlums and pimps to stay up in that holy tree, man. And he's sitting there on the back porch, right next to the back porch of a bar that don't exist anymore, man, where the Indigo Girls used to hang out all the time. And they'd always hang out on the back porch, dog. And he'd be in his tree listening to what they were saying. He'd hear them talking about all the record deals, talking about all the dollars they were raking in. They were puffing huge ass joints. They was chugging down pitchers of beer like it was motherfucking oxygen, boy. Those Indigo Girls was living it up. And he was sitting up in a fucking tree, man. And he said, I got it rough. Those Indigo Girls are down there, they're living the high life. I'm up here in a fucking tree, man. Pulling my pud, looking at, the magazines and shit. The Weekender or whatever the hell it's called, the movie time set. So I'm just like, damn, homie, what'd you do, man? When I was talking to him, when I heard the legend the first time. He said, well, I came to a holy revelation. So Xtra Cornbread Steve came to a spiritual revelation. Man. He went down underneath the porch. He picked up every motherfucking joint roach that they had ever dropped betwixt those spiritual wooden boards. And he rolled them all up into one huge ass blunt. He puffed that bad boy at the foot of the spiritual tree that he called his home. And he said, dude, what the hell am I doing, man? And he went and he bought Palookaville, man. He bought 22 acres way out in the spiritual western Georgia wilderness, man. Almost to the Alabama state line. He went out there and he built a spiritual cabin.